Good evening. I'd like to call the February version of the Park and Rec Commission to order. First thing we do is approve that we do have a quorum that's available. Next thing is approval of the minutes. I entertain a motion to that effect.
Motion to approve. Second.
Further discussion? If not, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on to unfinished business. We're going to be having a bit of hopscotching agenda tonight, so bear with me. The first item will be a policy discussion on dogs in the Riverwalk, and the second item we'll be considering after that's been completed will be the Glacier Blue Hills mountain bike trail proposal. Just a few ground rules, so I'm sure everybody's got all sorts of various opinions and everything else, and they want to share with us. However, with this amount of people here, we are going to have some restrictions. So you're going to be limited to about 2 minutes of discussion. Please do not reiterate anything, any repetition. We'll just ask you to sit down. And so we'll try to give everybody an opportunity to speak as long as you are contributing something in addition. So with that being said, let's move down to item A, under unfinished business, a discussion on dogs on the Riverwalk. Craig, you want to lead us on?
Yes, good evening. So this was a discussion point a couple months ago with the Park and Rec Commission, talking about allowing dogs potentially on the Riverwalk. This came up mostly because of the new construction happening downtown, and there's also been some requests of allowing dogs on the Riverwalk. And then we've always had that situation kind of auxiliary court where on the Eisenbahn, which is county controlled or managed, you can have dogs on a leash, but you come down that ramp and you connect to the Riverwalk at auxiliary court and you cannot have dogs. And it's kind of in the same location. So we want to continue that discussion. I know the police chief is in attendance tonight and he may have some comments. And then we want to see where it goes. So I guess I want to throw that out to you as commissioners if you have some suggestions, comments about allowing dogs on the Riverwalk. They currently are not allowed. And I guess I should go through the exceptions in the city currently. Dogs are generally not allowed in parks. We do have the dog park, which is obvious that dogs are allowed there. They can be in Ridge Run Park on a leash, and they can be on the Ice Age Trail throughout the city on a leash. And those are really the only exceptions for dogs in parks in the city of West Bend. So I'll open up for comments.
Okay. Any of the commissioners want to address anything now, or should we leave the audience have participation first? You guys call. We'll open it up for the public. Okay. Now, anybody that has opinion on this, please come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and then give us your presentation, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Fuzz Martin. I'm an owner at Epic Creative, which is at 300 South 6th Avenue in the old Delta Defense building, the old art museum. We are a full-service advertising agency. We employ about 100 employees and are one of the largest employers in downtown West Bend. More than 50% of our workforce comes from Milwaukee. It's coming from Milwaukee County and commuting into West Bend each day. We are a dog-friendly business, and we consider downtown an extension of our campus. So it's part of our selling point to get individuals to come to work in West Bend and not work at our competitors in Milwaukee, and to get them to come up here, we offer a dog-friendly place for them to work. And also so they don't have to take their dogs necessarily to doggy daycare or anything like that during the day. It's an added benefit for them in that regard. So we come, and my colleague Dan Augustine come to request that you allow for dogs on the east and west side of the Riverwalk, as we all the time take our pets for walks around the city, and obviously the parks nearby are mostly not dog friendly or not no dogs allowed. And we feel that as an extension of that point, that it would be important and a helpful selling point for us as a business to help attract and retain employees. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak to this issue? No other comments? Chief, maybe you can share some.
If I could, I just, well, I would go back a little bit. I expressed many years ago that they allow dogs in the parks, not just on the trails, but I just want to explain my reason for that, and then I'll talk about the trails and my concern. Probably not a police issue, except that we're the ones that get called to enforce. To me, it makes little sense to say we can have dogs on public sidewalks, and dogs can walk all around the city on a leash, and people have to pick up after them, but they can't go in a public park. I've never understood that. So I am in favor of them on the trails and on other places, but one of the cautions I would do to make it practical, and if you're going to allow them, I don't like the idea that you only allow them on a stretch of the trail. If you're going to allow them on a trail, they should be allowed on the entire Riverwalk. Because you're going to confuse people, and then we're going to start getting calls, and we have to be reasonable. The part of the trail that goes through Riverside Park, to me, then you put signage up and say dogs on the trail only, or something to make it clear to them. But to say you can walk so far on the trail and then tell them they can't walk any farther is going to be very, I'll just say it's going to cause problems for us, and we're going to start getting calls, and I'm not complaining because that's part of our job, but quite honestly, we have better things to do, and I don't think that that's reasonable expectations of the public either, to pass an ordinance that to me would be confusing. So if you're going to allow it on the entire trail, or better yet, allow them throughout all the parks.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody have any questions for the Chief? Thank you very much, Ken. Okay. Okay. Anybody else want to address this issue at all? Okay, since this was a discussion, information only type of thing, we'll then move on. Thank you so far. Now we'll move on to.
Jim, can I just ask,
Yes.
is there any consensus or ideas from the commission that they want to put forward on this topic?
Craig, I have no problem with the dogs on the trails at all, as long as they're on leashes. I mean, like Ken had said, that this is getting to be a dog-friendly area, and people are picking up after their dogs because they are worried they're going to be fined or not have the privilege of doing this anymore. So I have no problem doing it on all the trails in the city.
I also second that. I feel with especially this location where that's a sidewalk location, you're really making a roadblock for people. They're going to buzz through, and the chief is correct. He's going to be spending a lot more time for people calling and narking on people like me walking their dog.
Craig, you and I had this conversation when I first got elected as alderman about allowing this, and you said at that time you didn't think there was a mood for allowing it, and things have changed. You look at the people on the Eisenbahn Trail, there's dogs all over. I know you watch the majority of the people that you see walking dogs around now, they're all carrying little plastic bags with them. And I think, it's kind of gotten to the time, like the chief said, if you're going to, I'm not advocating for the parks. I mean, it would be nice, but I'm not advocating for it, but definitely the Riverwalk.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree too. Last time we discussed this, I said I believe they should be on the Riverwalk and not in the parks. And they should be on a 6-foot leash, not some of these people where they have the real long leashes. But that could be a safety concern. But yeah, I think they should be on the Riverwalk.
Good.
So what I think we would
Can
do.
I just add something, Craig, when you talk about the parks? There is an issue too, the downtown, the Old Settlers Park and the Pocket Park. If you don't want to do the other parks, but if you're going to allow the Riverwalk, you need to at least allow those two parks, because you're going to have people that come up the Riverwalk and want to come into downtown, or they're going to stop at, and then they can't walk that little stretch there. So it was the reason why we recommended a while ago not to have closing in those areas. So if you're going to allow it, you understand what I'm talking? At least those two parks. If you're going to allow it on the walk, you should allow it at those two parks.
I think we may have included that because I know we addressed the hours, but we'll double check the language. I think what we'll do is bring something back for the next meeting, some formal language that we can vote on. I just want to make sure we're clear. So we're talking the Riverwalk starting up on Roosevelt, up in the Barton area, coming through downtown and across Riverside Park, which is the north side, basically north of the river, up to River Road. Like it's 3.1 miles. That's the Riverwalk stretch. It's pretty consistent throughout there. Riverside Park, and I have the map up here, and we can talk more later on, but I can zoom in if you need it. But basically, actually, let me just do that. Just to make sure we're on the same page. Plus, we have 1,000 people in the audience who are getting educated on dogs in the Riverwalk. So you can see kind of the pink line is the Riverwalk. And so on the very right side, there's River Road. There's a little parking lot. It's kind of more of a natural area until you get closer to the parking lot on our end. And then it runs into Indiana, and then it continues up to Auxiliary Court. So that we would probably look at signing it so it stayed on the Riverwalk, that piece, the pink piece, but not on the active play areas, which would be the south part of Riverside Park. So if that makes sense, we can put some language together for that and bring that to the next meeting. If the Park and Rec Commission approves some language, then that goes to the Common Council for final approval. So I would see it happening end of March at our next meeting here, and then sometime in April go to the Common Council. So it's basically ready for Riverwalk when that's finished, which will be June 1st-ish, sometime early this summer. So I think we're set to go. Yeah, I think the snow should be gone by May 31st. So is there any other questions, comments, or anything else you want included? Otherwise, that'll be the direction we'll go.
Addressed all of your concerns? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All righty, thanks again. Chief, thank you very much. Appreciate your contribution. Moving on now to our next item on our amended agenda. It'll be the Glacier Blue Hills Mountain Bike Trail proposal. Again, I want to remind everybody, please come up to the podium, identify yourself, and share your information with us. Again, you'll be limited to 2 minutes, and please do not reiterate or repeat anything that's already been said, because we'll give you the gong show. Dong. So anyway, now, you want to lead into us again, Craig?
Sure. So we received a proposal from a group of, I'll call it a loose group of mountain bikers. They do have some names. And so I want them to present the proposal. I think you should have that on your agenda, what they have. There's also some pictures. I have a map of kind of Glacier Blue Hills, and the red on here is the Ice Age Trail for the most part. The blue would be the current mountain bike trails. And we can certainly blow this up and show you, zoom in on different sections if you like. Glacier Blue Hills actually runs all the way from Highway D on the north, which is actually off this map on the very top. Comes across Jefferson, comes across Park Avenue, and actually ends up at Highway 33 right behind Culver's. So it's a long stretch. It is one of our largest properties. I'd say for the last at least 20 years we've had, and I'm sure longer, the Ice Age Trail and mountain bike trails there. So they've been in cooperation or in concert together. I don't know about conflicts in that, but we want to start out. I'm going to invite Greg Van Schleich and Rich Ramsey, or whoever would like to present the proposal, if you want to come to the podium and kind of walk us through what you're looking at doing. And then I think after that, we can certainly ask some questions of these two gentlemen, and then I think we can open up for the public to comment. So thanks for coming, gentlemen, Greg and Rich, and I'll turn it over to you. And I do have pictures I can show of Copper Harbor, or Copper Mountain, I guess it is, and the Sylvan one in Wisconsin. So we don't have the Arkansas ones up here, but they do have this on their agenda, but I can pop those up if there's certain things you want to address so the audience can see as well.
Sure. Well, I want to say thanks for having us here, and also thanks to all the mountain bikers here who came to support us. If you could all stand up so we can see who you are.
That's a lot more.
Awesome. Well, thanks for showing up, guys. We really appreciate it. So, pretty much who we are, we're Gears, Glacial Edge Area Riding Society. Since the mountain bike trails have been at Glacial Blue, it's been us and volunteers who've maintained it, cutting out trees, fixing erosion problems, rerouting, doing things to keep the mountain bike trails safe and continually working. As Gears, we're an organization that's 501c3. We're also insured. We're under the umbrella of Metro Mountain Bikers, which is a little bit bigger organization a little south of us. And currently, we have a little bit more trail than what's on the map there. But we approximate just between Beaver Dam and D to be close to about 8.5 miles of mountain bike trails just in that area, not including all the stuff down to 33. The city of West Bend recognizes this park as a mountain bike park. As you can see on the website, when you go to the park, it mentions mountain biking, and it also has a picture of the mountain bike trails as the main picture for Glacial Hills, Glacial Blue Hills there. So pretty much our proposal is getting a professional mountain bike contractor to come in and enhance and improve the trails. What they'll do differently than what we can do is use machines, heavy equipment, and they're professionals. So they can accomplish stuff much quicker than we can, and they build it much more sustainable. So it'll be easier for us to volunteer and clean up stuff. So it'll actually make less work for us and improve the quality of the trails. And another thing that these contractors can do is sign. And the big thing with signage out there, so people don't get lost, people know difficulty of the trails, and also for fire and police, if there is an incident out there, they know where to find people. It makes the park safer for everybody. And essentially, how we plan to fund this is through Gears and Metro. With our 501c3 status, we want to fundraise, collect donations, and also approach businesses within the area to support our cause.
I'd like to add to that. We feel that the impact that these trails will have on the mountain bike community through this state and possibly adjoining states is that our reach for funding will go beyond our county borders. Trek Corporation, which is in Waterloo, Wisconsin, has already funded a similar project in Sylvan Hills in Wausau. So our reach is going to go beyond just our region. We're looking at attracting some money from the corporations that we support as bikers.
So the benefits to this, why would we do this? One, we have a pretty big high school mountain bike team, NICA. And this is a great place that's local for them to practice. These trails would give them more areas to practice. It would help with, their skills and just, we had a lot of high school kids who, as a recreational activity, want to go mountain bike. So our park should have something for them to ride. Also tourism. Mountain bikers are unique. Mountain bikers will travel many, many miles to ride a new trail or ride different trails. People are usually just content staying in one place, so we will attract people from all over the state. Hopefully people who are driving from Illinois to go to the UP will maybe take a day or two to stop here to ride the trails we have in this community. So with that, it boosts the local economy with businesses, lodging, and then another thing too is we have a lot of businesses in town that are looking to attract accomplished people to move to this community. And a lot of accomplished people are mountain bikers. That's what they do for fun. And it'd be great to work in a place that you can recreate and work in the same community. Yeah, that's pretty much our proposal. And we're just hoping at this point to get your approval so that we can have something to present to start raising money.
So just to be clear, the map that's currently up is not their proposal or their map. It's just our GPS map that shows up if you Google the property. So do you guys have a map or a plan yet of the exact trails you're looking at improving?
So part of it is improving existing trails, and part of the job of these contractors is they come in and they do a topo. They look at where is going to be the best place to build these. That's one, going to be the most sustainable, safest, and for flow trails, a big thing that's fun is we all like going downhill. So they try to figure out the way to go downhill the longest. So that would be presented in something we could present to you as we get further along, and we have a contractor that could make up a map like that.
They see the topography different than we see it. That's their experience, and we are depending on them to give us a design of the trails.
Because they're professional.
Okay. Do you have any questions for these gentlemen, Steve?
What's the other closest trail or set of trails around here?
The next closest set of mountain bike trails would be up in the state forest at New Fane, and then a little farther up are the Greenbush trail systems. Those are controlled by the state forest, the DNR. We maintain those also. I have a long time relationship with the superintendent of the forest up there. I've put on events, races. We go in and maintain the trails. I just had a meeting with them. We are planning on inspecting all the trails to do maintenance to them, bring them up to speed. They haven't been touched in a while. They haven't needed to be touched because they are sustainably built. Those were designed and built by the International Mountain Bike Association a few years back, and like I said, we don't work on them because they were built right.
So they're pretty far and few between, basically.
That is correct. Our options for riding in this area are quite limited.
So this could be a good draw for people of West Bend.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mike?
Do those trails, those state trails, are those multi-purpose where people use them for hiking and things like our trails are?
It used to be that they were ski trail mountain bike trails, and in the mid-2000s, the Nordic Ski Group at Greenbush literally wanted to throw the mountain bikers out. And Jerry Leiterman, the forest superintendent, somehow or another got the funds to design them. They're in the same footprint as the Nordic ski trails, but we are a separate trail tread, and they have been designated for mountain biking and snowshoeing, and the mountain bikers stay off the old ski trails, and the hikers are asked to stay off the mountain bike trails.
And in your proposal, would we be able to still keep our trails for multi-purpose?
Our proposal is multi-purpose, and we're also in the design of this, and we've already talked about this before this proposal gelled, is that we redesign the trails that we have to try to divert the mountain bikers from the Ice Age Trail, give them options to stay off of the Ice Age Trail. We would intersect it, but our intentions are to have our trails more exciting and divert the mountain bikers, and with signage encourage that. Not that we close them off, that all trails would be multi-use. Craig mentioned earlier that user conflict. From our side of the community, there's no user conflict, and we try to reinforce with our community that it's a privilege to ride those trails. Let's not mess it up.
Thanks.
Mike? Anybody else over here?
I just got a question, I'm sorry, on the proposal. In the proposal, you said, a request we asked the city would be regular park enhancements such as paving the parking lot, having a water source, and plumbing or pit toilets. Those are certainly things we can talk about.
Yes.
There's definitely no commitment, and this is the first time we're seeing it or talking about it. So certainly the parking lot could be enhanced for everyone. It's not in good shape, as we all know. Plumbing, probably a whole different thing. We certainly would be happy to investigate. I have no idea how close we are to water lines. That area kind of goes between city, town. So I'm not sure, but we can certainly explore that and certainly work with you. But I just want to make sure you understand there's no commitment from this organization or our department at this point to do any of those enhancements. But I think we can work together to try to do some of those kind of improvements.
We understand that's a long-term thing, and part of what isn't in this proposal for trying to get our point across is we would like to work with you to make a long-term plan, not only the new trails going in, but what's it going to be like 20 years from now? What are the things on a wish list that we could have to enhance this facility?
Al?
Craig, I guess I gotta ask, did the parks check with any other areas that have a multi trail like this to see how it's been working there? Is that something that we need to investigate? I mean, I really like the concept to move forward, but I guess I want to see how the other ones operate.
Yeah, I think our philosophy in West Bend Parks Rec Forestry is we want to provide as many opportunities for as many different types of folks to explore recreation. But one of our biggest things is safety and user conflict. So I don't think we at all want to eliminate the Ice Age Trail or use of it. But I hoping this progress or this proposal is actually making it better for everyone, that there are more designated mountain bike trails separate. Because right now I know there's a little bit on and off, and some of the intersections is one thing, but if you're riding on the same trail and some of your people are trying to hike, it's definitely not a good, especially coming over curves or hills. So we want to make sure that this is open for Ice Age Trail and mountain biking. I think the signage is a key piece as well. So I think it has great potential because it's been there for many, many years together, but it's, to improve it would be a great boon, I think, for many reasons. But we are very conscious of the different uses. We want to make sure they stay and we don't have conflicts. There's certainly examples kind of all throughout the state, but we can investigate more just to make sure. But I think we're very conscious of that effort.
Anything else? Oh, good. I've got a few comments. Isn't there a dedicated mountain bike facility on Pleasant Valley Road over in Grafton?
I failed to mention that. Yes, that's it's on Town of Cedarburg property, and that's just been developed in the last few years. That was part of the Gears United when were and we still are, because the Ozaki mountain bikers are part of Metro Mountain Bikers.
Yeah, we're all under the same umbrella essentially
Yeah,
now. We've joined forces.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Is that a multi-use facility?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I imagine it's getting more than snowshoe use this time of year with the new snow bikes and everything.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Craig?
Oh, yeah.
I had the privilege of being involved in the initial development and building of the mountain bike trails at Glacierville Hills. And particularly on the west side more than anything else. Sure were a lot of rocks there we had them dig through and everything else, but we tried to make it a thing. And that was also, we did that in recognition that we wanted to give people other options. I'm a mountain biker and a hiker and everything else myself, and I'll tell you, the main drag that goes through the spine of there, that is currently the Ice Age Trail thing, is great for hiking. I've hiked it many times, but it's extremely boring for mountain biking. So we decided to develop what you saw on the west side and to an extent on the left side a little bit. And even so much as when we developed between the, whatever that old road is, and between the bypass, that bamboo forest, I call it, but that's okay. Anyway, and so it's not used, but, I think people have always been pretty respectful of things. Granted, you're going to have some sort of issues. I don't anticipate this being anything like we've experienced in the Kettle Moraine on the Ice Age trails, everything, where we've had, unfortunately, many years ago, a few bikers who were kamikaze guys, wanted to bomb them all right in the middle of the spring, and I don't think we'll see that here. And first, I want to additionally thank all the members of Gears for everything you've done to maintain, improve, and elaborate this. It's been a tremendous asset. I'm sure that we could work together on this. And I think with all people involved in it, there's no reason we can't have a collaborative type of an agreement and working together to address everybody else's needs and concerns and everything else. I don't think up here we've heard of many problems with conflict or anything. Craig or Mike, you're the ones who might be bothered with that initially.
No, I think the only thing we ever see is people dropping off their old couches in the parking lot. And again,
And deer
that's-
carcasses.
Yeah, that's some of the improvements, because when it looks like it does, it attracts that kind of stuff. But I think the more people you have out here, whether it's hiking, biking, or something else, and a better parking lot, and it deters some of that kind of stuff. So we just have a couple of quick pictures I'm just going to show. These are some of your, I think, potential
This is
deterrents.
in Wausau, so contracted and built. But as you can see, these berm corners, the way they shape them and they compact them with machines, they drain water well, so you don't have to resurface them, and they're exciting. And the nice thing too is on some of these sections where you're going really fast, it's wide, so you don't have people clipping a handlebar in a tree and sailing into another tree.
Park.
This is a pump track. This is also at Sylvan Hills.
So this is Copper Harbor. This is kind of one of the first places in the Midwest to do something like this. And the start of it spawned a contracting company that is now on retainers in Arkansas for years and building all over the country.
Do you see using, so if you recall, we've moved some soil, I'll call it, from the old fish pond, and when we dredged it, and we've put it out there in hopes that that could be used maybe on that side of the hill, and you can use that as potentially some of your ramps. So we'll see how that works out, but yeah, we definitely can work with you on some of that ideas. So those are the pictures we have. I just wanted to show some of the things. Again, we don't have a proposal necessarily saying they want to build this type of track or they want to do these kind of jumps. I think what you're probably asking for tonight is conceptual approval of continuing the process. You guys getting in line with somebody for design and look at topography and start thinking about what could be done out there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Now we'll turn it over to the audience to see if there's any other additions or comments, anything. Anybody else want to speak to this, please? And again, please remind you, identify yourself.
I'm Rod Bartlow. I volunteer with the Ice Age Trail Alliance. First, some clarification. The written proposal in the package only referred to the area north of Beaver Dam Road. Does the proposal also include the area from Beaver Dam to Park Avenue?
Currently, the main focus is that, but it would be, I mean, there's already mountain bike trail south of there, but the main focus is north.
Okay. I don't have opposition to the proposal as a whole. I just want to make sure that the interest of the Ice Age Trail is protected in anything that moves forward. Remind you that the City of West Bend signed an agreement with the National Park Service in 1986 regarding management of this section of the Ice Age Trail. That use of the trail is listed as included bicycling. Certainly in 1986, the sport of mountain biking was in its infancy, nothing like it has become today. So we have a concern there, what this would do to increase traffic. I just think that moving forward, I'd like to see you engage with staff of the Ice Age Trail Alliance as part of this collaboration moving forward, and just include them and see what can be done to best separate hikers on the Ice Age Trail from this increase of mountain bike activity that you're expecting?
Yes, I think that's a fair request.
you.
And just to let you know, is it Tim Malzahn or Malzone?
Malza?
Yep, he's their main trail person for Ice Age Trail Alliance, and he'll be in town next Friday. And we're actually meeting with him to talk about a different section as well. And as you also know, we've acquired the Marth property recently last year, and that's part of the Ice Age Trail on Highway 33. So he'll be here to talk about that. I think he's also meeting with the county, talking about their bike plan, and then he's going to meet with myself. So we definitely are in touch with them, and they're great to work with. So all your comments certainly make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else want to speak to this issue?
I'm Lisa Delaney, and I'm also with the Ice Age Trail. And I just wanted to make a real quick comment. I don't want to repeat what Rod had talked about, but I know we've worked cooperatively with the mountain bikers. They even showed up at one of our work days a number of years ago on a reroute, and that was fantastic. I can say that my own sons used to bike those trails all the time, so I appreciate those biking trails being here in West Bend. But I just want to point out to people who don't know that the Ice Age Trail is a national scenic trail, different than a lot of other hiking trails, and its significance is that it's comparative to the Appalachian Trail, the Continental Divide, the Pacific Crest, that type of trail. And when people come to hike that, they're expecting a different kind of experience. It's a national scenic trail. So I just want to make sure everybody kind of keeps that significance in mind designing these biking trails. So,
Lisa, if you stay there, hopefully you can help me. Has that section of the Ice Age Trail from Beaver Dam Road out to County D, has that been signed to indicate that this is a national scenic trail? Or maybe Rod can help her.
We do have some signage out there. I don't know if it's officially signed. I'm not quite certain of that, and we probably need to relook at that section, and maybe when Tim Malzahn is here, he would be able to help with that also.
I think
The document that I referred to was the certification with the National Park Service, and does indicate that it will be signed with the National Scenic Trail emblems.
Yeah, and that's very good. I thought there might be a little bit more that the Wisconsin chapters or this chapters would have to further elaborate on that and make it a little bit more prominent, so people would definitely appreciate it rather than the smaller ones that we see commonly. I think it's something to consider, and so it'll give people better awareness and better appreciation of what they're there and what they're sharing. And I think that would be the thing.
I'd bring that up with Tim when you talk with him. There are up on Highway H, I believe, on Highway Double N in the town of Polk, there are brown highway signs indicating National Scenic Trail at the parking lots. So that might be something that could be considered.
Yeah, I have to be true to the spirit of Bill Steinhilber. If you remember him, he got me out there to move rock too for other interests in that. For those that don't know, Bill was one of the big movers, a shaker of getting the Ice Age designation through here. And then you can thank all the trails that are behind the ski area up in Kewaskum, because he fully developed that and almost cut and trimmed all those things himself. But anyway, okay, Lisa, thank you. Any other questions or comments people would like to share with us at this point in time? Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for your participation. Thank you for showing up to show your support of this. And again, we can work very amicably together, all of the entities involved. So again, thank you so much, and I appreciate everything that Gears has done for us out there and what the Ice Age Trail has done for us also. Thank you again.
Is there anything, certain direction, Jim, that the commission would like us to take up as staff, or that you want to see some of the entities here do?
I defer to the commissioners. Speak.
I like what I see. I guess the conceptual plan step further with it would be a great thing to see. Procedural items going on from 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year. I think that'd be a great thing to show.
How much time would you guys expect to be able to bring something like that back to this commission, or at least to staff to look at and start talking through? Is that a couple month process, or multi-months, or years, or give us maybe a little timeline?
So we're probably gonna need a few months. What we're gonna do is collaborate with Metro Mountain Bikers, which has a little bit more resources than we have, and kind of get a little bit more formal plan in place, and then we can present that to you.
Our first would be to identify a contractor. And if we may need to raise funds to bring that contractor here. So those are things we need to find out, and we will be in touch with you on all the steps as we move along.
Yeah, a big part of this proposal is not necessarily actually, going out and building it, but getting the approval that when we approach these places to get funding and money, that we can give a contractor some money to go out there and get a quote and map it out, so we have a real thing to present that's going to be almost exactly what it's going to be built like.
No, I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is our largest audience we've had in quite some time, even more than deer management. And so I definitely appreciate both the Ice Age Trail folks and mountain bikers to come out and talk about it. I think you've heard from everybody that we definitely need to keep all users in mind as we go forward. So that's the Ice Age Trail, it's mountain bikers, it's regular hikers, could be people with their dogs on leash, et cetera, et cetera. So let's make sure we keep that in mind. But we're happy as a staff to work with you through this process. I think it's something we've been talked about probably for the last 10 years. And if we can actually make some progress and continue to improve trails and facilities for the city, that'd be wonderful. So thank you very much for everybody's time, effort, and we look forward to working with you on the process.
Thank you very much. You're dismissed. I was going to go to the special request first. Yeah, good. Maybe. Hey, why don't you ask your folks to escort you out? Because we got the rest of our meeting to keep. Thank you.
Do you know where my dad is?
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to ask if you want to socialize, please move out into the foyer. We have a full meeting to go with yet. Hi. No. Yes. You got the Rocket Kids. Yeah. Julie Schmidt. Yes, good. Yes, thank you. I'll tell her that. Sure. Okay, good. Good. Okay, Julie. Thanks for coming. Okay.
I'm trained. Yeah, I know. I'm trained.
Okay, we'll continue on with our meeting. Since we're using an amended agenda, I'm going to go to under new business. Number B, special permission request, reindeer and sleigh at LLC. I have this on the white paper.
And we did this last year too, correct? And there was no incidents before? Or last year, there was no incidents with it?
Correct. That's why we brought it back one more time. It's basically allowing animals in a park system, reindeer in this case. The only caution we'd have is that they're not part of the deer management situation. No problems. The Friends group, everything was great. They pick up. They basically are there for 90 minutes. I think they take pictures with all the kids and grandkids with their sleigh and Santa, and then they move on. So staff has no problem with this. We'd suggest approving it, and then in the future, if this continues, which it may, we wouldn't have to bring it back, but we want to report back that it's been not a problem.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on it, considerations? If not, entertain a motion to approve this request.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? If not, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on. Whoops. Now we'll go back to unfinished business. Item B, Regner Beach House update.
All right. Regner Beach House, we've talked about for many years. We're going to continue to talk about it. So we worked with a group, Keller Management, who does building construction, and they just volunteered to do some cost estimates for us ultimately. So they brought in, back last fall, some subcontractors to look at electrical, HVAC, demolition, concrete, etc., and give some updated cost estimates. And Cindy and I went and met with them recently, and they basically said that to do this project, and I'll flip a picture. To do this project that we have proposed, it's now about $1.3 million of construction. And so they're asking us basically, do you want to continue with this in the same plans, a few tweaks here and there? At 1.3, and that's for the building and the construction right around it. I don't think that would include the parking lot. And then, or would you want to tear the whole thing down and start brand new with a little more modern, potentially look? You could still do some of the limestone feel. Their biggest thing was consolidating the utilities. So I'm going to go forward to a couple of, and I'll bring you back to that picture. So here's the view again from kind of above. It shows the concession beer garden area on the left. The new restrooms are on the other side. Is the interior of the space. It's about a 100-person room on the back side. This was the floor plan. So you got new restrooms on the right side. But some of the consolidation is, if you look here, you have basically restrooms for the outdoors, kind of the wing on the right side, and then a new set of restrooms in the middle of the building. They're not really connected, so that's some of the loss of efficiency. And then this just kind of shows the parking lot and how it fits in a new parking lot with the beach house. So they thought, again, we're just talking general numbers, that probably about $1.3 million. We then met with our current architect who designed these plans more recently, just to confirm with him that he thought the cost estimate made sense, and he agreed, because he had given us numbers a few years ago and gave us increased per year that we didn't build it, so it lands at about $1.3 million. We're keeping, about 15 to 20% of this building, and the rest of it's being redone. So we're kind of keeping the facade, the front, a little bit of the side wing or side walls of the main piece, but really the wings are ripped off, the back's all redone, all the HVAC, all the utilities are new. So that's where the question comes in. Do you want to sink $1.3 million into a 84-year-old building, or do you want to start fresh and try and design it? So we asked them, they didn't do any real sketches. They had done a building like this in Little Chute. It's more of a ball diamond concession stand. So you can do some modern flair to it. You can make it look pretty much like the old beach house, I think. But they thought their cost estimate for brand new would be about $1 million. So obviously that's a little more attractive. $300,000 less to fundraise and come up with is always better. But is there, are we really tied to kind of the same look and the feel? I threw it out to our Regner Rejuvenation group to see what they said. They seemed pretty okay with starting new, but they really wanted to save, the fireplace. That's the only thing that comes up. They certainly want it to look as much as they can. like the current beach house, maybe a little different shape, certainly limestone. But if you look at the park, what we've done over the last 10 years, we've tried to capture that same historical look, but make it modern. So I think there's ways of doing that. I don't know if we have to decide tonight, but I guess I want to hear feedback on if you as commissioners or staff have some other thoughts on this and maybe what direction we should go. I'll throw one more caveat in there, and maybe we'll hold off for another month or two. There's another item on here, Mutual Mall update. With the knowledge of Mutual Mall going away and us needing to find some recreation space for programming, we kept this as an idea that maybe we add on a few rooms to this, maybe we expand it, make it a little larger, and this becomes a mini rec center. So far, we're going down the path of probably not doing that, but I don't want to close that idea until we have explored all options. So I'll open up for feedback, or Cindy, if you want it, because you've been in part of the meetings, if you have some thoughts too. Jackie, Nick, you're involved in this. So.
I guess when we talked to the Keller group, they were like more pushing for the more modern, tear it down, replace it. But then we talked to the architect who worked on this design, and his thing was, do you want to keep the historical aspect of it? Because it's a big part of the park. It's the first building that was there. So how tied are you to that historical look and that kind of authenticity? The Keller Group said they could build this building with that front facade looking quite the same, but they would make it all more rectangular, consolidate utilities to save some money, so you could kind of get the best of both worlds if you wanted to, but and it would be less expensive. So that's kind of what we had thrown out there. And then maybe getting more use out of it with additional space for recreational facilities that we're going to be losing, on Mutual Mall. So that was pretty much it.
When does Mutual Mall go away?
Mutual Mall has officially been sold. We're looking at using it through the summer. And then we're looking, I'll tell you right now, we're looking at the library basement. And they have a large unused basement. It's basically where old City Hall furniture goes to die. And so we've explored that. Nick and Jackie and myself have been there. We're going to work with Zimmerman, who worked with us at the Marin Center, Lac Loran, obviously the police department here, and the library. We met with them last week to start doing some planning and setting up. So that's kind of our first option. I think it makes the most sense because there's already a building there. They have similar hours. There's parking, but there'll have to be some expenses in build out. So that's what we're looking at right now. But until that gets settled and we decide some things for sure, I want to keep this kind of as a plan B, so we have the space for it. But hopefully we would not need that here.
Being in construction, I know the savings of trying to keep adding, remodeling existing very old facility gets very costly. And especially, you may have all the drawings in the world for this building. You're going to open up a wall or a footing, and there was another $20,000, $30,000. I don't see why that first or the second drawing that you had, I think that's a little bit for Regner Park out there, but that reminds me right away of Doc Onring Park, softball diamonds. But I don't see why they can take an approach of possibly tearing down what they have there and replicating it. There's a restaurant not too far from here on a big Cedar Lake that did something very similar, but that person had a lot of money doing it. There's a lot of factors, but to keep a $300,000 fireplace, the fireplace for me would say goodbye. And especially, you got to look at your insurance rates too. If the fireplace isn't there, how much of the savings it would be.
Is it practical to clean up that limestone, the bricks, and reuse those? Is that?
If we can find some volunteers for that.
Just need a good power washer.
I agree with Mike. Anytime you do a renovation like that and a build out, your overruns are going to be unbelievable for something like that compared to starting over.
You know, if they can tear it down and make it look like it somewhat does now for less money, I think that would be the best idea, because the only thing that you think about is, I mean, you've noticed it in the last few years when like some of the county buildings got tore down, when somebody was gonna redo the brewery, you know, everybody comes out of the woodwork, we're tearing all the history down. Every picture you see of Regner Park, what's in it? That bathhouse. You know, but if they can make something that looks pretty dang close to it for less money, it's no brainer.
And why are we looking at renovating this now?
Well, something we've been looking at for a number of years, mainly because the restrooms themselves are not adequate, bad shape. And so as we went through that, I mean, another option is to actually look at redesigning this and making it smaller. So do you want it just to function for lifeguards on the beach and maybe not as much of the beer garden concessions or an extra meeting room? The idea with this was to kind of use the same footprint, but add some nice concessions and amenities that way, and have a nice meeting room on the backside, you know, mainly in the summer for beach parties, whether it's birthday parties for kids and stuff. But this could be a 4-season building, so we could do rentals throughout the year. So we certainly can look at some different things there. But we actually started working with this group in 2013, 2014, so it's not a new idea. But as the beach house ages, the wings, the real consideration was nobody uses them anymore. There's changing rooms, and people don't. They either use the family changing room inside, or they just bring their sweats or just wear their suits and go home. So it's really an unused space. So how can we use that better? So that's certainly a component of it. It makes sense to continue. And, you know, we're really looking again at fundraising for most of this. So it could be some city money for infrastructure or utilities, or maybe the parking lot, but really the building, we've talked to a number of folks and they seem interested. So the history's there, and that's where you tug on the hearts of, but I guess I look at it as the ball diamond too. You know, they talked about originally, do you keep the grandstand as a historical and all that? Well, the plan is to tear all that down, start over, put the west bend back up, because that's what people are tied to. So that kind of goes back to this fireplace. We threw out the same thing with Timbers. They tore the whole thing down except for the fireplace, made it look inviting just like it was, kind of old school, but it's new, modern. So whether you kept the fireplace or not, you could probably make it look pretty close to what it is.
Yeah. Good, thank you. I think we've raised some nice issues and everything else that probably going to incorporate. Like having people involved in construction and everything else weighing in on this. It's almost like watching Property Brothers all over again. But anyway, but you know, everybody's, and you know, I think if Steve had said if we can kind of reimagine or some of that stuff, just some sort of depiction of what that looks like, but just do a whole new renovation, not renovation, rebuild. I think that's the appropriate way. And a good point, Mike, in talking about the insurance with the fireplace, because that becomes, to me, a very no-brainer. But the city self-insures, though, don't they? Or does that have a factor?
Well, I don't know what the city would say about it, but yeah, certainly if you do not have a fireplace, natural fireplace, you're going to save on some insurance costs. I think what we'll probably look at doing, I want to hold off a month or two till we get down the road of the recreation space. And if we're fully moving into the library, then I think that part goes away. And then I think maybe we continue to talk with staff and Nick, because Nick was not part of the original design of this, and how does this work with lifeguards and concessions, and make sure we get the most efficient use. The other thing I see with keeping the old building is that what we use basically right now for either getting your tickets, your wristbands for swimming, or taking off your ice skates, really is an unused space. It's just kind of I don't know if it's 700 square feet or something, of hardly ever used. And this new plan would be to actually sell wristbands outside, so like from a window, so you're not taking up space. You'd still save some maybe for ice skating and that kind of thing, but I think that could be reduced substantially too.
Would they still preserve the beer garden space?
I think we'd look at doing something like that.
I thought that was essential to your
Well, nothing's
plan.
essential. It's just a building.
I thought.
Yeah, to Craig's point, basically, you know, the need out there is the restroom area. you know, when we see the usage that comes in, I mean, that's the main, always the question, especially in the summertime, you know, for the family changing rooms is much needed. You know, the stalls are very narrow. You know, obviously it dates back many years. And, you know, there's an outside area to spray off the sand. That would be very beneficial and needed. Not many people go into the locker room areas. If they do, it is just to turn the water on and spray the sand off, but most people don't even do that. And they definitely, when the families come in and use it for the summer, they definitely ask always about when's this going to be updated, when are we going to get a new beach house, when are we going to get a new beach house. So there's a little bit of talk, a little bit of speculation, like 2020. So people are definitely excited about it, and the public support and need would definitely be there for this project. So.
Any other questions or comments on the part of either commission or staff? Okay, if not, thank you. Item C, changes to policy for athletic court reservation fees.
So before you, we're updating, we've added some pickleball courts in different areas and Ridge Run. So we've updated this to show what our facilities are in each of the parks for tennis, pickleball, basketball, volleyball, and horseshoes. So we've added the pickleball cost in there to match up with the other ones. And just, it was a time to update our fees and policy here.
Any questions or comments on this? This is an action item, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. This being an action item, I entertain a motion to approve the.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Discussion. If not, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on to summer program fees 2019.
I'll start with the summer program fees. Most of the programs, the fees will remain the same that they were the previous year in 2018. We do have a $5 increase to the Mud Run fee. The last few years it's been $25. So again, with a $5 increase with the plan that it would be $30 for the next few years. We have a slight $2 increase to our tennis league. That program meets often throughout the week, and the need for coaches. So that $2 increase would offset the wage expense for the staff. And then beach, again, we are currently able, even with the recent wage increase of staff lifeguards out there, are able to sustain the fees for at least another summer. So there's been no change, trying to keep it as affordable as possible for patrons to use Regner Beach. So, yeah.
Any questions for Nick on these? Entertain a motion to approve the summer. Oh, I'm sorry, Megan.
No worries.
Forgive me, Megan, you're just so quiet over there.
Sorry. Mine's short. I didn't change any fees for this year, so same as last year.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve the recreation fees as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on, mutual mall update. Have you done that already?
Mostly. So the update is that the city is in agreement. They have agreed to sell the building. We've talked about the timing, that we'd still have programming. Basically, Pathways from the school district ends in June. I think their contract's through June 30th. Anybody else that's been in there, their contracts will be up by then too. So we just need to make sure we have classes through the summer. We usually end at the end of July, and we're assured that's going to happen. So we're working, like I said, at the library is our first option. We think it's a great fit, both with library, with their programming, their hours. I think it would draw some more people to the library. There's already parking. So Zimmerman will be working on some first draft plans. We should see that, I think, tomorrow. And we'll start to react to that. We're looking at ultimately a dance studio and 2 multi-purpose rooms to start. We're probably including bathrooms and a little lobby as well. The dance studio right now, as you've heard Nick's reports before, we have over 200 students in dance each week, so that's a huge program for us. And we also have multi-purpose rooms, so whether that's yoga, self-defense, aerobics, theater, other classes that could be used there. So we think it makes a lot of sense. It's a great fit. It's an unused space, and we're going to work together with the library on that. So that's the progress. We'll probably have more information at the next meeting. We may need to approve some kind of funding. Still working on some of those issues. So happy to answer any questions on that direction.
Questions or comments? If not, we'll move on. We've got several events we have to approve. Special event, Fiesta Latina on Saturday, May 18th, 2019. Jackie?
This is a return event, however, it has moved a day. It is now going to be operating on Saturday instead of Sunday. I have a feeling that there might be some tourism. The Tourism Commission may be awarding them something, or they're working with the Tourism Commission to enhance the event. So I think that their first step in doing that is to move the event to Saturday. But it is, otherwise it's a returning event that we've had for many years.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve this as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on. Next one, special event, Brick by Brick for Tanzania, June 15th, 2000.
And I'm just going to preface all the next three. These are all returning events. That's why I'm bringing them all in a clump for you. So none of them are new. They've all operated. They've all operated within, they're good behavior. They're good tenants. So that's a good thing. But anyhow, this is Brick by Brick. It operates through Ridge Run Park. They use the trails. Great event.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on, Steak in the Park, Noon Kiwanis.
Okay, as I always say, they're having steak. It's in the park. It's the Kiwanis. It's good.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion carried. Moving on, American Cancer Group Relay for Life, Saturday, July 20th.
The last year they changed their routing and it worked really well. I don't think that we've had any issues. They do a luminaria walk in the evening. It rotates. The walk comes around the splash pad and stays pretty much in visibility of the entertainment area, but it really worked out well. And even though they got rained on starting at about 5 o'clock last year, they still made money. They still did what they needed to do and were happy as can be. And so they are returning for the third year.
Very good. Entertain a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Item J, accept donations.
All right, I have the first donation. It is anonymous for $137.05 to go towards park amenities in the PARC fund.
It's my pleasure to announce Delta Defense as a return and sponsor to the Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids in the amount of $1,250. Also my pleasure to announce Kohler Credit Union as a return and sponsor for the 2019 Youth Softball and T-Ball League in the amount of $2,000, and also a return and sponsor for the July 4th Sand Building Castle Contest in the amount of $500. It's my pleasure to announce the return and sponsor as the premier sponsor of our movie night in the park, First Bank Financial Center, in the amount of $1,000.
Okay, thank you.
I have a donation from Serigraph, which is basically Kine and John Chirinas, for $25,000 to go towards the Riverwalk, the east side of the Riverwalk. Very generous donation.
Good. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, that makes a deep breath, doesn't it? Entertain a motion to accept and acknowledge said donations.
Move to accept.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on, reports. Chairman. Chairman at this time defers. Secretary's not here. Quarterly trust, I believe we... Mine got cut off.
Yep, we have the quarterly trust report. This is through the end of 2018, so December 31st. Gives you the updates on the PARC fund, park fees, dog park, etc. And you'll see a new one in April for the first quarter. But any questions on those funds?
Accept a motion to accept the quarterly trust report as presented.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Moving on to Conservation's Supervisor, Megan.
I have in my hand a signed goat contract.
Whoa!
I know, I'm really excited. We are using a company out of Poynette called Hackhagen Goats. It's a lot of H's and A's. It's a young couple, they do it. We are going to have 40 goats delivered whenever there's foliage for them to eat. They'll be grazing a 7-acre section of the property. We will have them there for 30 days in the spring and 30 days in the fall. So they'll come in 2 rounds. It's actually signed on a real contract, which is amazing. I do have maps of the area that we're going to do it from, if anybody's curious. And they will also be coming out to the Conservancy April 28th to do a Science for Everyone talk about invasive goat grazing. So please come see them talk about that. Their names are Brooke and Grant. They're fantastic.
Good. Any idea of when they'll initially appear?
His initial thought is sometime mid-May, which would be great because it would be right around the time of the plant sale. But again, it depends on when stuff has leaves. I mean, they need to be able to sustain their water and their food, so it has to be grown out enough by that time.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions for Megan? If not, we'll move on. Tourism Event Coordinator, Jackie.
The bulk of my report was emailed to you today. You should have gotten it, the flip book. So please take a look at it. You all received it. And you can even open it on your phone, and it opens just like a book.
Okay.
So that's the majority. The other thing, just a note for you, at this time of the year, it's always very cool to be doing what I do, is because you get all these nonprofit groups that are really excited about going forward. And so I get to meet with a lot of different people and a lot of different ideas about how to use the facilities that we have. And so I think we are going to have a couple of new events this year. So they take a little bit longer, and I have to babysit them a little bit more. But then eventually they get to the point where I can just say, yeah, it's a returning an event, and they're good. So it's good. It's a fun time of the year for me. So that's my report.
Questions for Jackie? Not. Moving on, Recreation Supervisor Nick.
Winter swim lessons will end this Saturday, March 2nd. Swim lessons will start the following Saturday, March 9th at the high school pool. Our 3-on-3 high school basketball league finished up on Saturday at the Badger Middle School. That was Saturday mornings they played, starting first part of January. Our women's volleyball league is ongoing and will conclude March 14th, and that's at the university. Dance program resumed from winter break. The recital is April 13th. Our Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids event update is we have 11 of the 12 sponsors returning from 2018, with the 12th one sounding positive. They just got to confirm their budget numbers, which they'll have in mid-March. Reached out to a few potential new sponsors, so waiting to hear back from them within the next couple of weeks. March 1st, that's tomorrow, registration starts for the Mud Run, as well as our youth theater program and our youth softball and t-ball leagues. The rest of the summer program registrations will start online for residents on the 19th, walk-ins the 21st, non-residents for online will be March 26th, walk-ins same day.
Okay, questions for Nick? If not, moving on, Superintendent of Parks, Mark.
Thanks, Jim. A couple quick items. Street tree pruning this winter. We did make it through districts 6 and 8 and all the alleys so far. We are now working in District 5. We have also started updating our street tree inventory. The last time that was done was 2005, which was pre-emerald ash borer invasion. So it's kind of good to get all our ash trees out of the inventory, a lot of the replanting. We've been doing a fairly decent job maintaining our inventory throughout the years, but it's always good to go back through with any inventory and make sure your inventory is actually correct. So staff is working on that. Actually, last time we did it, we hired a contractor for just under $37,000 to do the inventory. This time we bought 2 iPads and we're doing it ourselves, so. But a lot of it's in place already, so it's just updating current inventory, so. And we've been plowing snow and plowing snow and plowing snow. Several staff members, we've been assisting Public Works also throughout the winter, plowing and salting. That included me one icy morning. I put my big boy shoes back on once. It's been about 17 years since I've done it, so it's still the same old, so. Ice rink, we had a long winter. Nick had a long winter with it. It was very successful. We are closed though at this point in time. We have water coming up on the north, south, east, west, all the edges. We got water coming up, so. So that is done. Also, some other smaller items. We no longer have a B diamond or A diamond in Regner Park. So those bleachers are about 45 plus years old. We did sandblast those, reprime them, repaint them, new boards. They are all over on B diamond. The ones on B diamond we are refurbishing. Also the ones up at Barton we are refurbishing. So some upgrades to some of those bleachers, things like that. So yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Okay. Questions for Mike? If not, moving on. Park Project Manager Cindy.
Okay, I've been working on getting some cost estimates for Dog Park. They're looking to put 2 shelters in there, and Locklear on some improvements in front of the barn. Tree surety's out to bid, is due back March 6th, so should have some reports on that the next time we come in. Riverwalk East, we are pinning down the railing and lighting design for the east side of the river, and hopefully by the end of March, when we meet again, Yaki will have gotten in there and started working again. On the west side, the Riverwalk, we're working with SEH. We've met with We Energy's city staff on utility locations of where to put those before we start construction. Working with the county and the cooperative brownfields agreement to do investigation on the west side for the phase 1, phase 2, and if there's any remediation needed. Also, we had a meeting with SEH Hussars and the theater group with some city staff to talk about what to do with the alley between the Hussars and the theater. So I think we have that kind of worked out. We're just waiting for some of the details from the theater group to get their architectural stuff done. We sent out a letter of interest to Fund for Lake Michigan because they fund design and construction of projects like the Riverwalk. And we heard back that they wanted us to submit a full proposal, so I'm working on that. So we should.
Oh, very good.
And they were suggesting us to apply for $100,000, so that's kind of nice. That would go toward the design fees for the west side to help pay for some of that. So that's what I have.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Any questions for Cindy? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Director.
Couple quick items. Next month, you'll see a proposal or new one from the Historic Barton Business Association. We worked with them last year, and they're working on a flagpole and lighting and a little plaza area. I've seen some of the initial designs, and I think they're doing a great job. They're going to be looking at selling bricks and those things, so probably bring your checkbook when Jeff comes next time. Carl Kuss continues on. The update is they're still working on some of the design work, fundraising. There's been a lot of meetings with the Baseball Association, the city, and Cal Ripken Foundation. So good progress, but I think it's going down the path that construction will happen towards the end of this ball season. So say August. So similar to last year, which was August, but it'll be 2019. And I think that makes a lot of sense for many, many reasons. So we'll get you more information as that develops. But so Thankfully, Mike and crew did all their fall maintenance on the fields. We'll have to reconnect some electricity for lighting. But overall, the field will be playable for this season. And then I think they'll use it probably through mid-ish July, and then we'd go into demolition and construction mode. Deer management update. They moved into Ridge Run Park, so they've been in Lac Loran. As you knew, back in December. They also did some work on the county property north of the county buildings, those old farm fields that they own and kind of the Salt Dome area. They've taken out a few there, but they had 11 deer at Ridge Run harvested last night. So overall, 33 deer so far in about a 4 or 5 night expedition. So they're going to continue in Ridge Run through the month of March, and then we'll see that come to a conclusion. And last but not least, I want to thank the commission for your time spent today. You earned your pay. We've thrown some softballs at you so far, so it's nice to have an actual meeting with audience participation. And I'm declaring that February is now over.
Okay.
Yay.
Any questions for Craig? Very good. Thank you. With no further business to come before the commission, I hereby adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming up.